Hello, chapter leaders. Thank you for joining me for this history lesson about Royal Neighbors of America. As I prepared for this presentation, I was in awe about what our founding mothers must think about our longevity and how we have honored their tradition of impacting neighborhoods through volunteerism and the empowerment of women, and how much we have grown and accomplished in the last 127 years. Every time I sit down to work on our history, I shake my head in amazement at what they accomplished back in 1895 and before that, because a lot of work happened before we were actually founded, and the challenges that women faced at that time. They were creating an organization to serve women before they even had a voice to vote for their elected officials. They built an entire organization of hundreds and thousands of women and children before they could do things like have a bank account or even own property. It's amazing. But today I will share 5 tidbits about our history, but there's so much more. I could go on and on about all the wonderful things of our past as I dream of the many things we will do in our future. Currently, I am leading an effort to digitize some of our artifacts, and I hope that by the end of the year, you will be able to peruse some of these artifacts online. We will share more with you at that time. Well, let's begin. I'd like to start with this quote from our Supreme Oracle in 1925, Alice Gilliland. "We have grown to a giant structure for an organization offered entirely by women. This is a record of which we may be proud. The Royal Neighbors of America is as good as the best and better than all the rest." I believe this quote still rings true today as I look at all our chapters and our chapter leaders like you who are out in our communities doing the things that your communities need to make it a better place. So fact number 1 that I'm going to share today. Royal Neighbors had a supreme physician as part of their leadership. Many of our leadership roles at this time were called Supreme Recorder, Supreme Historian. I don't know if that was actually a role. I'm just trying to get that role on my plate because I think it'd be fun to have the title Supreme Historian. But you had Supreme Quarters, Supreme Sentinels, and we had these titles like our organization president was Supreme Oracle until the 1990s. But I would like to begin with a story about a woman that impacted our society. Born Haida Martin, daughter of Julie and John Martin, she grew up in Centerville, Iowa. In 1898, she graduated from the former Keokuk, Iowa Medical College, and later she took postgraduate courses at the medical college in Chicago. In 1899, she practiced medicine in Rock Island, Illinois, and called this home until 1914. It was at this time that she married Martin R. Carlson and moved to Moline, Illinois, which is right next to Rock Island. He was mayor of Moline and served in the Illinois State Senate for 17 years. They never had children, but she did have a niece that lived with them. Before and after her marriage, she worked for Royal Neighbors. She began as a recorder. She worked diligently for the establishment of the department to write juvenile insurance, which was organized on the 23rd anniversary of our founding. We were one of the first fraternals to offer insurance for children. Haida really lived our mission beyond the walls of her work at Royal Neighbors. She was well known as an active citizen and served a variety of roles with the Illinois Republicans and was a prominent figure in the party's women's activities for many years. She was particularly interested in projects that benefited business and professional women in her service life. Now, at Royal Neighbors, she also held a variety of roles. She was editor of our magazine from 1908 to 1911. Royal Neighbors has had the Royal Neighbor magazine since January 1st, 1900. We are very proud that we can find the life of our organization in these magazines. She became the Supreme Recorder in 1911 and was named Supreme Physician in 1921. Dr. Carlson served in this role until her death in 1949. She was well known in the medical community as well. She received medals of recognition for her half-century service as a physician. She was a member of the Rock Island County Medical Society. She organized business and professional women's clubs in Moline and Rock Island. She died after an 11-day hospital stay due to heart disease. She was 72 years old. The Royal Neighbors offices closed at noon the day of her funeral because hundreds attended. Chairman of the Board of Supreme Managers, Frances Torkelson, said, "In her most active personal and business life, she endeared herself to a wide circle of friends and acquaintances. Her useful life always exemplified the great fraternal principles of our society, and her record of 41 years of service and devotion is one that reflects her glory. In total, she served our society for 41 years and was a member for 50 years. She was a member of Camp 101 in Rock Island and later Camp 1036, also in Rock Island. Our chapters used to be called camps. So when we say she was a member of Camp 101, that's like saying she was a member of Chapter 101. Fact number 2. What were the women of Royal Neighbors paid in 1892? Now, we were founded as a fraternal benefit society in 1895, but much work was happening before that. There were Royal Neighbors women that had gathered as an auxiliary group, and somebody had to do a lot of the work of organizing and keeping track of the membership. So they had some paid positions. So these were the salaries in 1892. The Supreme Oracle and the Supreme Receiver earned $25 a year for their work. What does that equate to in today's world? $25 would be $772. So the Supreme Receiver would be paid $772 annually for her work. People typically made about $1 per day at this time, so the $25 annual wage was very low. $150 equates today to $3,089. Now, why would the Supreme Recorder make so much more? We don't really know for sure, but we're making some assumptions based on the documentation that we reviewed. This role documented everything such as dues collections, membership lists, and meeting minutes. They had an important job to keep all the paperwork in order for their group. Their notes were meticulous, and they had beautiful penmanship, as we have some of these documents in our collection. Fact number 3. How did Royal Neighbors make sure that someone was a member that was attending our Supreme Camp? We used to have thousands of chapters nationwide, and each state would hold a state convention. And there was also every 4 years a national Supreme Camp convention where there would be delegates from every state that would attend the national convention. And there was a role called Supreme Sentinel. We know a lot of these things because we can review our bylaws. We have copies of our bylaws since our founding. In the bylaws, it details the role of each Supreme position or the Board of Supreme Managers. One role that we don't have today, at least not in the same form, is the Supreme Sentinel. One might wonder what exactly a Supreme Sentinel does. The Supreme Sentinels shall guard the inner and outer doors of the camp. So when someone was attending a meeting, test all who apply for admission and guard well the secrecy of the Supreme Camp while in session. Now, when they went to these state conventions, there were elections and about the different roles. So if you wanted to be in a specific role, you would have to run for that office. And there were also votes about our bylaws. So someone had to keep the order and verify the membership of each person that entered. And that was the role of the Supreme Sentinel. Now, when I was cleaning out and sorting our historical items last summer, I came across an envelope with a note on the outside and these badges on the inside. The badges shown here were shared by Dr. Jane McMullen, who succeeded Dr. Carlson as Supreme Physician. She had them in her possession and gave them to our Supreme Oracle in 1965. We don't know if Dr. Carlson served as an Inner Sentinel, but she did have the badge in her possession, which you can see there in the bottom right-hand corner. The delegate badges were part of the Supreme Camp, and you will notice that the middle ribbon notes the Illinois State Camp in East St. Louis, 1917. Now, the delegate badges were used when you would go vote, maybe at the national convention. And you can see one of them says the location was Niagara Falls. We have many of these badges in our possession, as they were keepsakes and memorabilia for many of our chapter leaders and members. They would wear them at the Supreme Camp to identify their role. Now, you might be wondering how you can get a pair of logoed Royal Neighbors pajamas. With more than 100 years of magazines that have documented the life and identity of our organization, it's very easy to see the changes of time. We used to feature many ads in our magazine in the early days, and you would find many products that were maybe of interest to women, such as products to assist with gray hair and treatments that boasted about the benefits of radium. In particular, Royal Neighbors items must have been very popular with the membership, as many editions of the magazine featured items for sale with our logo. We even had an RNA supply department during the early 1900s that managed these items. Among the items you could purchase was this slip-over nightgown for 75 cents. It even included the floss for embroidering and had heavy padded scallops around the neck and sleeves. But that wasn't the only item. If a nightgown wasn't your thing, we have some other items that might interest you. You could order this sterling silver Royal Neighbors spoon. It was noted that it will make an excellent gift for Christmas for the hard-to-buy-for person on your list. The ad noted that you should order these now as there will be a big demand. In fact, we do have several of these spoons in our historical collection. Other items mentioned as great Christmas gifts were a Royal Neighbors rug for $3.50, a watch for 35 cents, and a Royal Neighbors soft pillow for $1.10. If you're wondering what year was this, it was December 1914. Fact number 5. What significant things happened in the birth month of Royal Neighbors of America? We were founded on March 21st, 1895. But we actually paid our first death claim for someone named Katie Coe, exactly 1 year after our founding. We went an entire year before paying a death claim. Thanks to Dr. Carlson and others, we had our first juvenile certificate issued to Charlotte Nash from Minnesota 23 years after our founding. Due to World War II, we had a war risk and aviation exclusion rider attached to an insurance certificate issued after April 1st, 1942. Like many in our country, we were very supportive during this time and purchased millions of dollars in war bonds. We were also strong supporters of the Red Cross and received accolades nationally for this support. Now I have to think, what's next for us? What's the next big thing that we will do in March? I just provided 3 here, but there are many examples of notable things that have happened in the month of March in our organization. And I just couldn't help this, but I had to throw in a sixth fact. There are so many wonderful things I could share with you, and I'm limiting it to 6. But we will share more in the future. Now, Royal Neighbors was a pioneer in recognizing that women tend to live longer than men. In 1961, Royal Neighbors released their new rate book. It was based upon the Commissioner's 1958 Standard Ordinary Mortality Table with an interest of 2.5% compounded annually. Another feature was the premiums per $1,000 for females were lower than those for males. This was a first. Reading our history, it was noted by Supreme Oracle Alice Gilliland that we mentioned earlier that as early as 1926, Royal Neighbors recognized that women tend to live longer than men and that this impacted our organization, our business, and our ability to make a difference in communities. These rates for males and females were adopted because in 1960, the mortality studies had established that women in fact live longer than men, and we were one of the first fraternal societies to offer such a complex scale of premiums differing by sex. This applied to juvenile certificates as well. So how much did it cost for a woman to get insurance at that time? I'm not sure. I'm still doing more research. We found some rate tables, but we couldn't determine the exact price based on gender. Thank you for spending time with me today to learn more about our history and how it relates to our organization and our social focus then and now. Understanding our history and continuing the legacy of our 9 founding women is an honor for each of us as we continue to embrace, just like Dr. Carlson, principles of this fraternal society. We thank you for being a chapter leader and an active member and continuing the traditions of this organization.